Nadia is a television news anchor, keynote speaker, author, trainer, and communications consultant.
19 #1 best-selling
have been nominated and won so many awards throughout your careers.
She has a wealth of experience interviewing and consulting with well-renowned figures, celebrities, and corporations. Nadia speaks on how to get people to like you, trust you, and want to do business with you.
Over the last few weeks, the entire world has been monitoring the treatment of your grandfather, Nelson Mandela. And my job was to introduce it and provide.
With topics like leveraging the power of your personal presence, networking for success, and lighting the fire. Nadia Bilchik.
Delighted to be with you today. And the topic I've chosen is the do's and don'ts of self-promotion. I spend a great deal of time talking to teams about how to brand yourself within an organization. And people think of a brand as a tagline. You know, Home Depot's used to be more saving, more doing. Now it's where doers get more done. But a brand for a person, as Jeff Bezos said, is their reputation. And the way he said it is a brand for a company. It's like a reputation for a person. So your brand is your reputation. And one thing is for sure, I've been teaching and training for 3 decades. Nobody wants to come across as boastful with gratuitous self-promotion. So how do you share your strengths and capabilities and competencies with your teams, with the organization in a way that feels authentic and genuine? And there really is a way of doing that. And that's the focus of today's session. And I do have somebody coming on shortly, Marissa Kelly, who does a lot of live LinkedIn events, and will talk about how you self-promote in that way. But the key to self-promotion in a way that is authentic, in a way that is not boastful, is to see how you can be a resource for other people. So one of the frameworks that I share with groups in keynotes and workshops is how to say the following. So for example, if you go, I am a project manager. Recently and then you give an example of something you did, a concrete example. A way of doing that is using the STAR method, where you say that what was the situation, what was the task, what was the action you took, what was the result? In other words, how did you solve the problem? Now, so many people end on that. This is what I did. Where the skill and the art comes in is the ability to say, this is what I did. Therefore, if you're looking for somebody who can do A, B, C, D, E, let me know how I can be a resource for you. And that's really what we want to talk about today, is that gratuitous self-promotion it's all about me. Artful, skillful sharing of your competencies and capabilities it's how I can be of value to you. And even in the thought of going and doing a LinkedIn Live the way I'm doing it right now, or Facebook or YouTube or whatever platform you're watching this on. And Marissa has just joined me, so I'm so delighted, Marissa, to have you join me on this live stream. And I will introduce her in exactly a minute. And the point that I'm making to Marissa and to all of you is that when we self-promote for the purpose of self-promotion, it comes across as not authentic. It comes across as boastful. But when we promote by adding value, by seeing how I can be a resource for you, therein lies the real secret. So I hope to all the people that are with me on social media, whenever I decide I'm going to post something or do a live, I'm not thinking about me, although there is a component of that, of course, we all do. I'm thinking about how is what I am sharing today going to be valuable to you. And if we can do that, self-promotion becomes less about self and more about how I can benefit you. So I'm now going to introduce you to my friend, and someone who is very good at helping people self-promote through live streaming, like what I'm doing now, and that is Marissa Kelly. Marissa, I know we're a little
Hi.
earlier than we expected. Fabulous to see you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
And Marissa, my goal today was to talk about the do's and don'ts of self-promotion. And I'd love your thoughts on how we can add value, how we can be a resource to others, and at the same time create visibility for ourselves. So, any thoughts on how to do that, particularly in the world you're in?
Yeah, thank you for having me on again. I know it's been a while since we connected, but I always love talking about this because I think one of the things that we're so stuck on. My background's in marketing. It's always about putting your message out there, and I think a lot of times in the recent months and even years with COVID and everyone kind of forcing us to slow down, prior to that, we forgot to listen to people. And when you're not listening to people, you're just promoting without really figuring out what you can add value in terms of, if someone has a question about live streaming, for example, it's not necessary. There is a way to do it without feeling like they're going to hire you to produce their stream, or they're going to hire you to be a host, or whatever, be involved with the live stream event, because we're so busy on trying to promote our business. And I think that if you're listening to what people are saying and what they're wanting, or what their struggle is, their pain point, then you're not really focusing on what your answer is going to be in order to get that sale. Right. So
that is so beautifully said. I just had coffee this morning with my daughter's sister-in-law, who's a realtor, and she created this video for Airbnb. And Alexandra Immerman, if you're watching, Alexandra Immerman French, she said, it's not, if you're, for example, you're Airbnb-ing, it's not about the business, it's about creating an experience. How can I assist you? And what I see with the world of social media is, and self-promotion in general, because remember, I do this internally if you want to accelerate your career. I'm saying, how do my strengths, capabilities, and competencies add value to you? And that's what Marissa and I are saying. We're all for visibility, right, Marissa?
Right,
Visibility
exactly.
is credibility. Credibility leads to profitability. But it's when people are doing it gratuitously without saying what's in it for the audience.
Right.
So when you produce a live stream and people who are interested in doing what we're doing right now, how do you walk people through saying, how do we add value?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's stepping back from the concept of live streaming and really getting to the core of what they are, who they are as a business owner, but also what do they provide. And I think a lot of people get nervous about, they see that ticker on the top. They're like, well, no one's watching. Why are people not engaging? And I know that if you focus on your expertise and how you can give value in a non-live setting, then the right people will see it. You'll attract the right people, and it'll eventually turn into profitability, like you said. And I think whenever I engage someone, I always try to figure out what their goal is. And sometimes I'm turned off by certain things when they're like, okay, like I'm going to be a YouTuber. And I can guarantee you that everyone who is a YouTuber never really started out to be a YouTuber. Yeah. They were just spreading their message, and it happened to catch on, and they're able to make a career out of it. And so I think
first started with, what do I have to share with the world? What value, what advice, what guidance, what do I bring? And if we can help people do that, say, and whether you're doing it, so Marissa, I'm going to walk you through this exercise because this is something I do in my workshops.
Okay.
So I go, I am, and then you say, okay, a live stream producer, right?
Right.
Can you give us an example of something you recently did? So I'll just give you a moment to think about that.
Okay.
So if I go, I am a professional development expert, executive coach. I work with individuals to develop their potential. Recently, I worked with somebody who was in middle management, and through coaching and training, he has now been promoted. Right? So that's my example. But what people
Right.
forget to say is they stop with me. They forget to say, so if your organizational company is looking for somebody who can do professional development, who has expertise, please let me know how I can be a resource for you. So it becomes about you and not only about me. So if I said, Marissa, you're a live stream producer, recently, what did you do?
Recently, I helped coordinate a blogger to help him convert his content into video format to put it out on
So
online.
if you're talking to a client, how would you then transition that to say, so this is how I can help you?
Yeah, I can help you by organizing all the tasks that are related to a live stream event, and everything from strategy of how that live stream event will be presented online to the tech involved, from your lighting, your camera, and all the extra things that go into producing a live stream.
So that was an excellent example for me of you saying, this is how I add value to you. And if I was working with you on your brand, so to speak, it would be creating video or content that gives tips to people about lighting, about help. As I said to Alexandra, who is the realtor, you know, the videos she's creating around, this is what to look for when you're looking for a new home. This is a common mistake that people make. So you're constantly saying, how can I help you? And if I have to say, that's the difference between gratuitous self-promotion and genuine, yes, I want visibility, but I'm going to do it in a way that serves you, right?
Right. Yeah, I will bring up this story. Yesterday, someone posted in the Facebook group for StreamYard, which is my preferred streaming tool. They said, does anyone have a list that they provide guests for preparing for the live stream? And this person is producing their own. I said, yes, I have a list, but it varies depending on the style. You know, some people don't have guests. Some people have inexperienced live stream, you know, speakers, so to say. And so we just went through this conversation. He took it to our DMs, and now he's potentially signing up for a consultation with me. And he is a producer himself.
You know, that's a great example of, you know, we speak about networking as being a go-giver as much as being a go-getter. You were first a giver. And that isn't saying, of course, you want the work, Marissa, but you prepared even today. So just to tell you how I reconnected with Marissa, is I was having a problem getting my background up. Well, magically, Marissa, after my call to you, and I don't know if StreamYard assisted, but
I called them. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
Whatever you did. Well, somehow managed to work. But it's saying, how do I assist you? How do I go into every interaction thinking about the other person? And I think you do that well. And then the work will come.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to show today was a very quick video on the concept of owning your space. So Marissa, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to show this, which is part of self-promotion is giving yourself permission and saying, I'm comfortable enough with what I have to offer. And then I'd love your thoughts on this.
So what does it mean to own your space? So Own Your Space, which is my book, keynotes, workshops, is all around giving yourself permission to be the person presenting information. If you are giving a sales presentation or you are being interviewed for a new position, do you own your space? Do you look comfortable? Do you look confident? Do you come across both confidently and competently? And in owning your space, you need to understand the verbal and non-verbal elements of your physical space. In other words, what you say, but equally important is how you say it. And then we look at your virtual owning your space. Is your LinkedIn profile complete? Do you have a good picture of yourself? Think about owning your podium when you give a presentation. Do you look comfortable? Do you look commanding? So these are just some of the topics that I cover in Own Your Space. And I ask you to really think about, do you maximize the overall way you project yourself in every interaction? Because if you do, you are truly owning your space.
And Marissa, just your reaction to the concept of first giving yourself permission.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts around that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it really resonates with me because I think as a business owner, I identify with that a lot. Being a woman in tech and having my own business, I think there's this thing about us not going forward and putting ourselves out there. Especially when you're creating your own path in your own business, in your own lane, and the permission to step out and say, okay, this is what I'm doing, is huge. And it's related to a lot of our upbringing or, things that we're very much accustomed to over the generations,
So
the generational stuff,
It's so true. So there's,
Mm-hmm.
and this is something that comes up a lot in my keynotes and workshops around,
Mm-hmm.
there's a difference between giving yourself permission and being deeply confident, because Marissa, I know you are an absolute expert at what you do, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then sharing it with others.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some people who promote too much.
Yeah.
And it feels not authentic and it feels uncomfortable. And there's some people who don't promote enough. So
Yes.
Today's program for me was around sharing with people who find it difficult to self-promote because they don't always have permission. And I'm saying if you do it in a way that is of value to others, that takes away feeling like you're boastful.
Yes. I think one of the ways that I would say that you get more comfortable actually sharing and not hiding behind the screen or whatever you're doing, is get involved in the small group settings. And there's a lot of virtual events going on, virtual networking events. I think a lot of people are open to doing video connects. There's connections that are happening every day on LinkedIn or whatever, wherever you're hanging out on when it comes to social media. And I think just being intentional about connecting, whether it's, you're connecting with a group of people or you're saying, this week I'm going to connect with one in person, and it's not going to be about a sale. It's going to be about connecting and how you can be a resource. And, just getting on more video calls with these people can then maybe turn into some more comfort level of going live or creating videos. And way back when I first started doing video, my friend had really challenged me to be on video and going live or creating these short videos because she knew the value that I provided in person, right? Like I was able to really connect with people in person. And my trick was to do these videos and not look at them and just do them. Okay, I'm going to write it down. I'll do them. I know what I'm sharing. I know I'm sharing value. I'm not going to look at it because I'm going to go back into that loop of like, I'm going to be too worried about how I look and all of that. But in person, when you're out talking to someone and networking, are you thinking about how you're talking to someone and how you look? Most of the time, not, because you're just connecting with someone. How are you doing? Tell me about your work. What are you most excited about in work? And you don't really think about having a video later on to analyze it and see, okay, why are you talking like this? Or why did you do something like that? So if you take yourself out of that quality control mindset of looking at the video,
I like
then then you just, you're offering value the way you would in a in-person setting, and you just get more comfortable, in my
I like
opinion.
what you
So,
said. Take yourself out of a quality control mindset. Marissa, that's excellent. One of the things I say is nobody is viewing you with the microscopic lens you view yourself.
exactly.
And Don Ruiz Miguel wrote the Fifth Agreement, where he said he wrote the four agreements, and the fifth one is, why? Because they're so busy starring in their own movie. So,
Yeah.
there's so many nuances to this concept, because you've been working with people, obviously, who want to promote themselves. We all do. And if anybody's watching this, whatever level of an organization, you don't need to be an entrepreneur to be in the world of self-promotion. We all want people to understand our value, right?
Right.
We all want people to understand what we bring to the table, what our competencies and strengths are. Once we've determined what those are, how comfortable, for those people who are just joining us, how comfortable are you sharing your strengths and capabilities? And Marissa and I come from two different worlds. She comes from a production, live stream, technical world. I come from a broadcast world. But for both of us as women in general, women tend to be, and I'm not genderizing all women, but there's a sense of discomfort with blatant self-promotion, right?
Right.
So how do we do it in a way that feels comfortable? And I'm going to reiterate what Marissa said, which is, when we're adding value and being a resource for others and sharing our story in a way that it can help you, it takes away that feeling of being boastful. And that's something you talk about in the way you help people with live stream. So let's talk about where we are. So think about March of 2020 is when you and I first connected, because I was an absolute novice in this world and I was desperate to have someone with your skills. Do you think now it's saturated? Are people looking for something completely different? How have things changed in the last 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen all the types of live streams and events. I think there is a saturation in the market of live streaming, but it's almost like it's almost like a requirement now that you're not live streaming, but somehow a video presence online. Your face needs to be there. And I think if you, again, back to the quality control, if you're taking yourself out of that role, and that, that's my role. I'm the quality control person. I need to make sure you look good and your stream looks good and your connection's good. And, you're putting your best foot forward, or face forward, so to say. If you take yourself out of that and you share your value, like you said, and you share it without being boastful, then the right people are going to see it. Whether they're watching it live or they're going to look for you later on. I think that's what most people need to take into consideration, because it's no longer an afterthought. Like, people can't now think, okay, well, the pandemic's over, like, we're not live streaming anymore. Well, no, it's actually continuing, and there's still people that are hesitant. And maybe because they see that from their perspective of being too overwhelmed with Zoom and, all these other things. But I think when you slow down a little bit and you take yourself out of that QC role and you think about what value you can offer, then I think it becomes a little bit easier. And I'm here to help people realize that, because I think that, I even myself get wrapped up in the QC. Like, I don't go live very often because I want to make sure everything's good, and I'm helping other people do it. So I don't have a lot of time to do it on my own. I almost need a producer myself. But yeah, it's just interesting, because like, this came up spontaneously with you, and I'm here to provide value, and I have stories to share that, where I am providing value and connecting with the right people, because they're finding me
Well, if you've just joined us, I'm talking to Marissa Kelly, and I'll tell you what Marissa does. She helps you take the guesswork out of live stream event production so you can present the conversations that matter. And that's really important. So as you say, Marissa, here we are. You and I are both risk takers. And the other thing that I think we have in common, you know, they say the enemy of good is perfect. If you are joining Marissa and I today and you're going, I want to do what they're doing, Marissa is going to tell you how to reach her, because what she can do is really just help you say, look, you don't have to have a professional broadcast background in order to be a live streamer. In fact, sometimes, Marissa, it's so interesting. I've been doing a lot of interviews lately where people interview me. And one gentleman in particular said, Nadia, it's so daunting because you are professional. I said, but you're so sincere and you're so curious and you're so interested. And I think what this has done is what doesn't necessarily, right? If you've got something to share, if you have value, you know, it's always interesting to me, Marissa, because people come to me all the time, and I'm sure to you too. They go, Nadia, I want to be a speaker because I speak well. And I go, okay, what do you want to speak on? Well, I haven't really thought about that, but I know, no. If you are in the world of finance and you are really understanding, my friend Karen Lee is a financial consultant, and she was written this book about money and how, you know, why does money complicate people's lives so much? She's got value. Or if you are, my friend Cheryl Westerman is a nutritionist. Speak about nutrition. Have the thing you offer the world. Have the message, have your story, and say, how is this going to help others? Because it isn't about you, right?
Right. Yeah. And I just talked to someone here right before this about the a speaking opportunity. It's you know, to help people, small businesses specifically in the Tennessee Small Business Development Center. And my talk, my background's marketing, live streaming, all of that. Put yourself out there. My talk is going to be tools to make your day more productive, which
Marissa,
is
2 years ago, nobody had heard about, okay, I want to hear about tools to make your, but 2 years ago, who'd heard of live streaming? I mean, I have a background in television, and I had never heard about live streaming until I met you in 2020.
Right.
So how do you make your day more productive?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those tools also help me in my business to grow my live stream business and to formulate my pitch. And, you know, it's new for you. It's new for a lot of people. A lot of people will see live streamers that are, you know, have full production teams. They're like, you know, we have corporate brands doing live streaming and they have all the budget in the world. And these small business owners really need to be out live streaming and doing some type of content creation or something like that. And so kind of like this whole idea of being productive allows me to, one, share my message, but also that's kind of what I'm going to tie it in. The whole talk is really about being more intentional with your time and being more productive so that you can do the things that will help grow your business.
And I've just put up, get your free live show checklist here. Thank you, Marissa Kelly. You and I could carry on talking forever.
Yeah.
In your opinion, how long should a live stream be?
Oh, good question. We are live for about the most ideal time. I say between 27 minutes and 30 minutes is max. If you're watching a TV show, that's 30 minutes, a sitcom, whatever. The most content without commercials is 22 minutes. So I'm a big proponent of keeping under 30 minutes because if you're talking too long, people tune out and the data shows that. So I think everyone's defaulted to 1 hour beginning of pandemic, and now it's shorter and shorter. And so that's okay.
We are getting up to exactly 30 minutes. If you want to meet Marissa Kelly, she's live on socialnow.com. I have loved knowing Marissa because she's just been one of those people who's been a resource as I've navigated this with many glitches along the way. By the way, I'm going to share one last thing with whoever is watching today. If you find yourself getting nervous before a live stream, here are
Hello, I'm Nadia, a professional speaker and broadcaster. And I speak around the world and I get asked lots of questions. I get asked, who's the best person you've ever interviewed? What was it like to meet Nelson Mandela? And is George Clooney really so sexy? But the question I get asked most, and this is from Dubai to Durban, is before you give a presentation or before you stand up in front of a group of people, do you get nervous? So I'm going to share a couple of tips, a couple of great antidotes to dealing with your nerves. The first and most powerful antidote to nervousness is mental. What is your mind focusing on when you feel nervous? And at this point, I ask you to start developing something called your positive emotional memory database. And what is that? That's a series of positive past experiences that validate you. So think for a moment of anything in the last couple of years, be it a job, promotion, or getting a job, or even watching your child being born. Something that when you recall makes you smile, makes you feel successful, confident, and powerful. And as you get nervous and as you're faced with an intimidating scenario, simply play that video in your mind, and it's amazing how your body will respond. The second thing that I always do is I go to the far end of wherever I'm speaking or to the back end of the CNN newsroom, and I do something rather unusual. I take a deep breath in and I go 1, 2, 3, huh! Let me show you that again. 1, 2, 3, huh! Now, that's one of those things that you really have to do backstage and not in front of your audience. One of the tendencies when people get nervous is that their voice often gets high-pitched and breathy. So, one of the most powerful things you can do so that you don't sound nervous is a series of voice exercises. Very simply, taking the vowel sounds A, E, I, O, and U. Start with hum, mum, hum, mum, hum, mum, hum, then with the vowel sound E, hem, with the vowel sound I, with the vowel sound O, with the vowel sound U, I hope you notice the sound is now in front of my mouth and it's very resonant and round and it sounds deep and I sound relaxed. One of the best antidote to nerves is the 3 Ps of practice, practice, practice. Know who you're speaking to, what you want them to think, feel, and do as a result of this communication. And I like to ask a question when I start a presentation. That way, the focus goes from me and the attention goes from me to the audience. So practice asking a question. I've shared a couple of tips with you, and very briefly, if you want more detail on any of these, please take a look at my book, Small Changes, Big Impact, which is maximizing your presence and leveraging the power of your personal brand. It is available on Amazon.com. Hamamam, hamamam, himimim, hamamam, hamamam, hem, him, him, hom, hum.